Are you ready?
Let's do it.
Are you ready?
It's live.
Are you ready? Are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Are you ready?
Welcome back to Live Talk, where we have real conversations that challenge, uplift, and transform our community. I'm your host, Arthur Jeremiah, alongside my two co-hosts, Minister Samuel.
Hey, welcome back again to Live Talk.
And the spiritual ambassador, Yike Ezekiel.
Peace. Good afternoon.
All right, and today I have joining us my dear son, M.I. Say hi to the audience, son.
Hey, everybody.
All right. And before we go to anything, let's go to our general statement and disclaimer.
General statement. Live Talk is proudly powered by TBS Goodwill, Builders of the Highway Foundation, and Men of Purpose. Together, we're bringing about awareness to the everyday challenges facing individuals, communities, and our nation. We tell our stories, listen to yours, and always respect different perspectives. Want to share your voice? Email us at livetalkorl@gmail.com to be a guest, or if you would like to contribute to our mission, purpose, go to livetalkorl.com to give a donation. Disclaimer. Information provided during this event and others to come does not constitute the official opinion of Live Talk or its affiliate entities. It is strongly recommended that viewers seek independent expert advice regarding any topics discussed, as legal requirements differ significantly across jurisdictions and are subject to frequent changes. If you have questions or concerns, you can always email us at livetalkorl@gmail.com, or you can DM us on Facebook and or Instagram at Live Talk Orlando.
All right, welcome back, family. Welcome back. Brothers, how are you doing today, Minister?
Doing wonderful. Wonderful to be back. Always a wonderful day. Of course, we're in the Sunshine State,
Yes, sir.
and it is definitely shining.
Indeed it is. Indeed it is. Brother Yike Ezekiel.
I'm doing busy too, King. All is golden and all is prospering and moving forward. You know, the thing about this life is to have a plan. And once that plan begins to get executed daily, it brings joy to you. So
All right. And my dear son, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. Most all glory and praises to the Most High Yahweh for waking me up today. It's an honor to be here as a guest on Live Talks. Everybody.
All right. Now my son, he came along. He said, "I just joined in." He said he don't know what the topic is. The topic is, but shared a little bit to him what the topic is, and we need that fresh mindset, that youth mindset when it comes. He's a young father, so we really appreciate that he wanted to come and tag along and just be able to share with you guys today, you know, from a youth standpoint.
Sir.
And family, I hope you're doing just as well as we are. We're just gonna give you a rundown of the show today. First, we have the minister word of today. Right after that, we'll go to the commercial break, and then we'll come back. Our main topic today is freedom ain't free: mental health, fatherhood, and breaking generational cycle. We'll go to a commercial break right after that, and then we'll come back. We'll see what's on our brother Yike Ezekiel's mind, or we'll continue with this topic, and then we'll get ready to end or conclude with a motivational quote or reading from the host. So, Minister, with no further ado, what is the word of today?
All right. The word of today for June 6th, 2026 is going to be accountable. Accountable. And accountable is defined as required or expected to justify actions or decisions. It is able to be explained or understood. Accountable is responsible to someone for your action. subject to, and giving an account of, accountable, capable of being explained. And a few synonyms are answerable, understandable, liable, obligated. So to sum up that definition, accountable is someone who is accountable, completely responsible for what they do, and must be able to give a satisfactory reason for it. Accountable.
All right. We'll be talking a lot about that today. So we want to make sure that our family know what the word of today is, and we'll be using that word throughout the day as we talk about this topic. So thank you for that word of the day, Minister. We're going to go to a commercial break, and we'll be right back.
At NOY Store, we bring culture, style, and wellness all in one place. Explore our collection of cultural apparel designed to inspire and connect. From t-shirts to polos, boldly tell your story. Need guidance on your journey? Check out our books written to inspire and support your spiritual, personal, and community growth. And give your body the care it deserves with our health and wellness products like natural toothpaste, soothing body butters, and more. We're always adding new products to empower your life so you can live with purpose and style. Visit NOYstore.com today, where culture, wellness, and inspiration come together. Shop at NOY Store.
Because Scott & Associates always treats me like family, I refer my family to them. So when preparing for my taxes and I know exactly what to bring in coming in, it makes the process so much easier. Anyone should hire Scott & Associates because they are professional, respectful, and very knowledgeable. And with all of my heart, I can always count on them.
All right, welcome back, family. In our last show, we talked a little bit about mental health. I had one of our students come in, and he talked about it from a from a student standpoint, where he's talking about psychology. What I want to do, I want us today to break down, the generational cycles. I want us to go a little bit into mental health, but dealing with fatherhood a little bit well. So that's why I want to bring, different, want to bring another viewpoint on, which is my son, which he is a young father. He has a about to be 2 year old, but he's one. And so he's dealing with it a little bit right now. So he can give a perspective from that standpoint there. But let's start with something that's been normalized for too long, and that's silence. Mental health in the Black community, especially among men, is often ignored until it becomes a crisis. So, growing up, and any one of you brothers can take this route to start. Growing up, what did emotional expression look like around you? Were you allowed to feel or expected to just deal with it?
Well, and I know in my household, you were expected to deal with it. There wasn't an emotional outlet. Nobody taught you how to deal with it. Growing up in the hood, you see death at a very young age. And nobody tells you, like, when your best friend gets shot or drowns or get hit by a car, how, as a 6, 7, 8, or 9 year old, how to begin to emotionally deal with that right there. They just tell you to suppress it, suck it up, it'll get better down the line. That time will deaden the grief that you're going through. But nobody allowed you to have a process to grieve and learn how to deal with that. So later in life, you don't have the concept that you're just constantly suppressing things instead of dealing with it. Now, if I don't know how to control my emotions, it's going to lead me down a dark path in life, because the moment somebody makes me angry or irate, I'm going to lash out. And most times that lash out leads to either verbal abuse or some type of physical abuse, which can make my life go from bad to worse. So our communities are not addressing the mental health, especially of the young black males. They just accept that this is the way it's always been. We can't change it. Allow them to just, oh, he'll grow out of it, basically. And this is why a lot of the youth have violent tendencies, because this is the only method of expressing their hurt or their anger that they've been taught. Nobody taught them how to be the bigger man, that, hey, just because this person created this type of situation that made you feel some type of way, you got to learn how to process these emotions and not just automatically go to the most violent route. So we definitely need to have more of mental health and emotional stability instilled within our children at a young age. So as they grow into young adults and adults, they'll know how to deal with the different circumstances that life is going to bring to them, that's going to test their emotional state.
And just to add on, um, the youth today, nowadays, I feel like speaking for young people, we tend to um hide our feelings, which uh I feel like the internet was a cause for that because um you got a lot of people watching you and you got a whole bunch of different emotions and they cause their self to go numb because now they're living like robots, if that makes sense, because they don't want to open up their feelings or they like you say, they don't probably want to get hurt or feel ashamed. So they tend to hide their emotions, like you say, um uh bro.
I mean, to your point, hiding emotions is the go-to, because sometimes we feel like we can open up to everyone, and like you alluded to, you said social media, and a lot of people do go to social media. I think I was talking about one of the shows before, like how the youth, that's like their therapist. They go to
Mhm.
social media to express certain things instead of coming to someone and actually expressing it to that person and trying to get the true help that they really need. Minister, you want to chime in on that?
Yeah, that brings something to light because I know, and of course, I know in our generation, especially like my father's generation, you didn't get the emotional or if it was mental health, everything was you basically was as a man, you supposed to deal with it
Mhm.
because that's what you thought. But the result was whatever that pain, whatever that problem was, it would eventually blow up
Mhm.
and it would blow up. It would either turn into violence in some form of fashion, meaning either you try and take it out on your wife, or you go take it out on your neighbor, and to take it out on a friend. Police get involved. It's like rather than dealing with the issue, symptom was a blow up.
Mhm.
Now, oftentimes we say that the younger generation is now more aware, but now that we have a younger generation, I'm hearing they having the same issue because we there is more availability for mental health. But back then, the stigma was you don't because if you don't talk about it because you're crazy.
Crazy, right?
Uh-huh.
Nowadays, at least from what I'm hearing,
Mhm.
you can talk to somebody that people don't think you're crazy. But from what I'm hearing from him is that the young people still not seeking it.
Mhm.
So we as a community, I mean, we still suffering the same
Right.
situation.
Yeah.
Like you said, just to add on, cause you said, uh, I heard you say bottle. Yes, we youth, we tend to bottle up our feelings, and that's not a good thing. Just because you put your feelings to the side for a minute, because now, like you say, you continue to go through things and you keep numb and bottling stuff up, and now you got so much built up pressure inside of you, you explode. You know what I'm saying? And the youth don't know how to deal with that because they, like you said, they don't have help with mental health out there. They either go through something, like brother said, that's traumatizing, where they lose a friend of theirs or somebody close or family, and then they go through a emotional, depressed stage of their life, and they got to learn how to deal with that. And it's really hard, but you gotta it's ways to get through it. And I say that because I went through it myself. I lost somebody at a young age, and it was somebody I felt like I looked up to, and it was a hard time for me that first year. But eventually, you tend to learn to grow up, and you actually become stronger from your losses. I always think that when I go through something, you always put me through something for a reason. That makes sense, you know. So I try to look at the good from what that lesson that he may have been trying to get across to me, or you know. So
It's unfortunate that we experience death in our lives, but
mhm,
it all, I mean, my opinion is all for a reason. And you can't tell that to a parent that lost a son, or to, you can't tell that to them. It's like, I just lost my son. So how do I deal with it? In most cases like that, you have to be on some type of drugs and medicine, man, because that's a deep wound, that you have to recover. Even myself, like, I believe growing up in poverty, like in a poverty-stricken environment, that would also cause some emotional stress as well, and can lead to substance abuse,
Yeah.
drug addiction, etc. My mother, who was a alcoholic at a certain point in her life, she suffered in silence, because she at one point couldn't get the help that she needed. Coming from that stage in time, like you said, minister, either you gonna be crazy, like, oh, that
mhm,
person crazy, they need some help, or you just gonna suffer in silence and just deal with that pain and all of the anxiety that you're dealing with, and it ain't good for you. It's like going back, yeah, you will burst,
mhm,
so we have to find ways to be able to not just cope with it and deal with it like what we're saying, but how you get help, and move past that. So that's what it's all about, and just understanding that we all kind of witness that in our growth. And
mhm,
then at the point where we are right now, what did we do, to get past that? And are we better right now? Did we get past it, right?
Well, I said you made a point, and I want to highlight something that you said. Oftentimes, the way to deal with it was either alcohol, drugs.
Hmm.
That
mhm,
was the only
Hmm.
alternative.
Right.
mhm.
That don't mean it was a good alternative, but
Yep,
that was part of how you deal with it.
Right.
yep.
But that created a whole nother scenario of
Mhm,
problems that needed to be addressed. Now, what I will say is what is available now, everyone may not be using it, is that even in high schools or middle school, probably even elementary, they do have counselors and grief counselors for the students that if they having issues, they can go talk to someone. Some may have more than others, but like that didn't exist back when
Right.
that wasn't there. Counselors were strictly academic. If you needed to talk to someone, you would have had to have a relationship and talk to them like with a teacher one on one. But there was no one set up to say, "Hey, we know that somebody got that you lost a friend, so we need to talk about it and help you deal with it." You kind of had to deal with that on your own, and part of dealing with that was, they that's a reality of, I'm gonna pour out a drink, my homie, and we would drink to that. That was the way to deal with it. Was that the best way to deal with it? That
mhm,
was the only way to deal with it. What other alternative be? Not supposed to cry about it,
mhm,
Right.
because now you've been a punk
mm,
or you've been a sissy.
Right.
So if you don't deal with it properly, you can go make mistakes.
mhm.
So the way to deal with it was the only way to numb that was with alcohol
Or
or
drugs.
drugs
Yeah.
or a combination of the two.
Right.
Mhm. And the youth thinks that the drugs are helping them, but it's really not. It's really killing us out there, and it may give them temporary happiness, but uh, that doesn't solve the issue. It just, it just causes cover it up. You're trying to cover it up with the alcohol and the weed, trying to, you know what I'm saying, distract yourself, but the problem is still going to be there, you know. So you really got to heal from it, um, and not try to lean on the alcohol to soothe the pain because that's temporarily. Soon as that alcohol or that weed wear off, now you back. You know what I'm saying? Buying you some more alcohol, doing that. That's not really. That's temporary happiness. You know. So it definitely is needed that young people, do talk to somebody. Speak to somebody who you trust. Because sometimes we like I said, we bottle up our feelings and we try to hide our feelings and try to, like he said, abuse alcohol, abuse the drugs when that's not really solving the issue. You know what I'm saying?
It's making you numb.
Hmm.
Numb you up.
Yeah.
Do you think in our community we're confused being strong, or we confuse strong with being silenced, Ezekiel?
Yes, sir. No doubt about it. That is the premier thought that permeates our communities, as we have been speaking on. Instead of me seeking help because my mental has been unbalanced due to a certain catastrophic event in my life, I suppress that feeling, I deal with it, I look for outlets either in the media or through the music that
Hmm.
allows me to tell me how I should be feeling. So when everybody speaks and man, hey, how you all right? Oh, I'm good. I'm straight.
Right, right.
Although inside there's nothing but turmoil because my partner just got locked up or just got killed. So instead of going to therapy, somebody that's licensed, somebody that's professional that can walk me through the process of how to get my mind back centered. I sit and I listen to people that have no idea of what I'm going through or a solution to what I'm going through. In our hoods, yeah, everybody may be going through the same problems in different degrees, but we don't have a rational solution to the problems. So I just keep quiet. I'm a man. I'm taught to be strong. So strength is don't tell nobody about my problems. Don't tell them what I'm going through because they can't help me anyway.
Hmm.
Which is true because they don't have a solution because they was never taught a way to how to overcome this right here. Grief is one of the most intense emotions that humanity displays. And if it's from somebody that's close to us, it's devastating. Mother, child, sister, brother. And if we don't know how to properly deal with our emotional state, we get so far off track that it begins to have a domino effect on every effect of our lives. Every area becomes now infected with my lack of motivation. I'm so grieved about my mother passing or my father passing, I can't even get out of bed. I don't want to drink or I don't want to take drugs to numb myself. So I just sit there and now I take on what's called depression. And in that depressed state, my motivation for life is just dwindles daily. Now my children are looking at me and they're like, he ain't on point no more. He falling off. My wife is looking at me the same way. My work ethic drops, so my job seeing it. And eventually I may lose the job because I don't even have the desire to get out of bed and show up no more. So I go just from being late to not even going, period. So we have to understand that silence equals death because the death of the emotions of that person will spread out to every area of their lives. So being strong, one of the first definitions of strong is to be mentally sound. In any dictionary, it's going to tell you to be mentally sound. You're not sound in a depressed state. You unsound. And when you unsound, you're going to make illogical, irrational decisions that's going to affect everybody within your immediate and out circle. So as men, we have to now see that therapy is not our enemy, because our people, we look at therapy in a different version. When crisis hits the Black community, what is the first thing we do? We turn to the creator of the universe. We go pick up the Bible. Let us read. Let's study. Let's pray. That's our form of therapy. Prayer is what? Communication between you and the supreme being. So when you look in your mind and say, well, okay, this tragic has happened, the first thing, oh, Yahweh, God, give me the strength to carry on through this right here. How I'm going to make it. So you go to read in the Bible. That's a form of therapy. You're talking to whoever prophet or person that was in the Bible that wrote that particular book. You're communicating with them. So what's the problem with me going to this person's office and communicating with them and getting some live feedback from what I'm going through, especially when they have been trained for this particular area? When I get a stomach ache, I go to the doctor. If I get a gunshot wound, I'm going to the doctor in the hospital. I'm expecting his expertise to patch me up. I'm not going to sit home with a gunshot wound and say, yeah, eventually it's going to get better. No. So we have to stop being biased about how we choose to use our mental abilities and start seeking help outside of the normal forms of help that we've been dealing with that's not productive, that's not showing benefit. You have thousands of men and women in prison because they lack the emotional ability to find themselves in a particular circumstance and think their way out. They just act emotionally. And again, since we grew up in these hoods, violence is always a forced course of action. We don't have that diplomatic or tactful approach. Let me talk through this. No, we ain't seeing that, because you're going to be perceived as soft. And as a man, that's a title that I never want labeled on me. And we just got to get it and realize that silence equals death in every aspect of our life.
I believe what you just said, brother, was powerful. And I think that goes, that's in line with all men too. It's not just Black men, but all men. We have this machismo mindset of being prideful and not allowing ourselves to be vulnerable. And that's on every level, from the health side, financial, and relationships, like you said. But Minister, you want to chime in on that?
No, that's like that's at least a 6,000 year or more problem with, and I'm gonna be clear, with the mindset of not just Black men, but with men, that misogynistic thought that it's a man's world and there's nothing we can't do. But guess what? In this man's world, we got war, we got poverty, we got hunger, we got disease, because we feel we got to be strong. And the solution used to be a club. When it wasn't a club, then it became a rock. When it wasn't a rock, then it was an arrow. Then it became a sword. Not a solution is a gun. The next solution is a missile and a rocket, because we have our ego that keeps saying that the only way to do this is through strength. Peace through strength. So I beat you down, I got peace. Okay, but then your brother gonna want to come back and beat me down to get him some peace. That never ends, because we're not looking on the inside to find a solution. That mental health, and one of y'all said it, is like going to the doctor. You get that gunshot, you going to a doctor. If you break a bone, you need to go get some surgery. You got a mental problem, you need to deal with it. And that means you got to find somebody to talk to. Like now, they even have telehealth where you do it online. But is it expensive? If you can't afford it, I mean, especially for young people, you might need to find elder or senior, someone that you can talk to. Maybe they can share something with you until you can get help. And by all means, if you have health care, most of them, same way if you got to go get a prescription, they will pay for it. And people say it's too expensive, I can't afford it. But yeah, I got a problem with that because I see y'all spending $200 on shoes. $200 on shoes. It's like, okay, you could have bought same shoes for $60. You want them $200 shoes, but you can't talk to somebody about bottling up your emotions, and eventually that cap go burst, and it's go burst either on your child, go burst on your wife, it's go burst on your mother. At some point it's going to pop because you don't want to get that release valve to deal with stress. And like the brother said, that violence leads to two places. It's going to lead to prison, or it's going to lead to the graveyard.
And since the youth on here, when it comes like even right now, because we're dealing with two different generations, just understanding where the youth are at this time when dealing with situations, because we can either be like what brother's saying, be strong or have this illusion of strength, or being silent, which is going to destroy us. What do you feel that most youth, and then can you share something personally, and then what you think most youth, the reason why they're not going to get the help or to speak to a professional?
For the youth, I feel like sometimes they might feel like they might not have nobody to go to, or they might not feel like they want to go to their parents or somebody close to them, like brother said, because they try to hide their emotion. And for me, I would say I was very prideful. So I didn't think nobody would understand how I felt if I explained to them, But
Do you think it's just a lack of how to express it then? I
yeah,
guess
yeah,
that's the
kind of,
way of.
pretty much. If you might sound, some people might think, dang, I might sound crazy if I tell this person how I'm feeling, or if I tell them, hey man, I no longer want to be here, And I know young people probably have done dealt with that before, where like brother said, they go through a depressed stage and they lay in a bed. I remember a time when I was just a few months ago, I lost my vehicle. I was depressed and I was laying down and I was soaking in my misery. But then my cousin came to me and told me, hey man, you gotta get up, or you gotta it's about, to me, it's about keep going, You can't stop. You can't sit there and soak in your misery. You gotta continue because you never know what God may have for you around the corner. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes He might take something away just to bless you, you know what I'm saying, twice as much. So I feel like with the youth, maybe they might be ashamed of coming to somebody for help. Maybe, it's probably not cool for them to you know what I'm saying, to try to look for the help. But we definitely need it. Um, like brother said, we try to run to the music, we listen to everything else but to our mentors, or the people who may be trying to feed us good. But the minute you open up your ears and you listen to what Yahweh is trying to direct you, or what He's trying to get across, um, I could share, for example, like a few weeks ago when I did lose my vehicle and I was going through a depressed stage. I had to get myself up. I had to get out there and get back to it because you got to keep going. Somebody was giving me knowledge upon um, my way. I was getting up. I was going to a little job interview. My way back, I ran into an old friend of mine, and I ended up seeing Hebrew on his arm. So I was like, you know what that name mean? He said, yeah, this Yahweh. And I was surprised because I went to school with this young man and I never knew that he knew about the Father. So that's me just catching that on his arm had opened up a whole different conversation where he ended up telling me, you know, man, kings fall down, but you're a king, you can get back up, you know. And this was coming out of his mouth, and it was all the words that I know Yahweh was sending through him to speak to me because I needed that, you know. And it actually I've been taking everything good that people have been coming to tell me, and I've been running with it because I ran into another friend of mine. He's like, man, yeah, man, I changed my life around, man. I found God, you know. And I feel like the young people, we we don't go to church as much. We don't, you know, we don't attend things that we used to growing up, you know. So they're more worried about partying, hanging out, clubbing, drinking, chasing girls. But when you sit back and you like the topic today is fatherhood. When you sit back and you have a child or you have um another being that you have to take care of, you'll sit back and you'll start to slowly pull back from them things you used to do. And I even noticed that about myself. And I do it unconscious because I got a son now. Hey, I might not need to be doing this. This ain't the right thing to do. You know what I'm saying? And it don't just come from just having kids. It may you may just get to a point in your life where, hey man, I'm tired of going through hell. I'm tired of the same things occurring and my life don't get no better. You know what I'm saying? So we definitely need to turn away from all the negativity that we do feed into today because that'll just pull us down into a deeper hole. It doesn't really help us. We think that it's helping us, but it's just like I say, covering up what we think we're not feeling because we try to hide our feelings and we try to become numb, but that doesn't really help us. So for my youth, I would say get some help. Don't be ashamed to speak to anybody about what you feel like you're going through because you never know, somebody might be going through the same thing or they might just give you some knowledge that can help better you. You know what I'm saying?
You know, that's important. I'll let you go, man. That's the importance of the youth ministry because youth listen to youth. This is something I have shared with him, but it's good to know that someone of his peer can come and share that and he received that. Go ahead, minister.
No, and I want to, based on what I heard him say, something part of the solution. I think we need to say it often that it is okay to seek help. That depression is real, like what he just spoke on. That don't mean there's anything wrong with you. That just mean that's something you need to deal with, get better, because you can keep that in, like you say, being able to not go on. That's something you really need to talk about because suicide is very high among young people. And just like a young brother being able to encourage you, you know, to pull you just enough to get you what you needed to be able to get you like around that corner. That depression is real. And, you know, staying in the bed and I'll go deal. Prayer is helpful, but prayer is communication with God. Sometimes you need to hear a live voice. And depending on your amount of depression, like some people don't like to hear it, but there are drugs that work because people can be at a state of on that ledge and they might need that drug to get them off that ledge. It just depends on where you are. That's why you really need to be able to talk to someone because it will be better to have a conversation or somebody that points you to where you can get some help. Or sometimes it's like we might need as men or men of purpose, sometimes as men, we just come to the table and we need to talk about issues because that can bring that depression, stress level down because we don't want to read in the paper about around somebody with their life. But that's real. And that don't mean you're a bad person. That don't mean that you're crazy. That just mean that you're dealing with. It's almost like you drive in the car and you get a flat. The flat just need to be fixed. That's just a reality. But if you ride around, get up on I-4 with three wheels, that's a death sentence. Same thing with mental
Yes.
and depression. There are people who know how to fix tires. So how do we have to come up with a way of making it that mental health is normal, and we need to seek remedies that we have available.
And a lot of times we don't have resources. Even the resources that we have, the immediate resources around us, may not be a good resource. We talked about it before, where dad may have needed some help, and his dad may have needed help. But we have to just be mindful of those things. If you seen dad, he works all the time. Not to say that I work all the time now. Don't be looking at me funny. It's just I work all the time, but I'm going through some. But the thing is, a lot of times we use it's consuming ourselves in consumptions of things to get our mind off the things that we should be focused on. And it's rather to say, "I love you, son." There's no, "I always love you," regardless of what you go through.
Right.
Those moments, they are very important, because that brings some type of security to not only to him, but to a relationship, that knowing that I can always come to you regardless of what may be going on. I always been a one that I sought to use the scriptures as a source of, to help me in the areas of my life. In addition to that, I would go to, spiritual, books and things of that nature. If I'm dealing with something, it's like I need to know how to deal with this here to get over it, because otherwise you'll be stuck in in a place where you can't grow and you can't help those around you. And you should be, as a man, you should be able to help your family and those around you, not just financially, but spiritually, emotionally, everything. So if you're not there, then you have to try to get yourself to that point. You might need some professional, guidance when it comes to that. And I'm not gonna say it's a lot of people like at my age, people that are in, positions that they can, take that time out. And I think we all need to take that time out, be able to see somebody just to check in, man, on our mental health. Or you come up with a goal, a plan. I think Yukazika mentioned this before in another coming up with a pattern and how you and a process to how you deal with that. But I just remember, as a paralegal, I have my degree in legal studies. But one of the things that I was taught centered around conflict resolution. And when you look at conflict resolution, although it ties into the scriptures, how you deal with emotional situations, conflict resolution is there's a need and the need is not being fulfilled. So now there's conflict in the air. So how do we now deal with that when you have someone that may not be on that maturity level that you're on to even deal with it? So now we're looking at a time and a place that we go to talk to this person or try to connect with this person or whatever issues that we may be going through. Now I'm gonna ask this here, and any one of you brothers can kind of chime in. Was there ever a moment you realized you were carrying something mentally or emotionally, but didn't have the language or space to deal with it? So it's just kind of going back to saying, like, how do I deal with this situation? Because we wasn't taught to deal with certain situations. And considering what I just said, how did you brothers, or how did one of you brothers deal with a situation that you didn't have all the resources to immediate tools immediately, but you was able to get through that process?
Well, for myself, is growing up in the communities that I did, when the crack epidemic hit, everybody in my immediate family became a victim to that. So at a young age, you have to fend for yourself. You have little brothers and sisters that's depending on you now because the parents may not come home for days when they on the bench. and you're at a young age to where you're not intelligent enough to make rational decisions. You don't know how to cook, you don't know how to do this, you don't know how to run a household. Yet you know you by default have fell into that leadership position. So you again look outside of your immediate house, you look into the communities, you look at the TV shows, and you try to extract certain traits or qualities from the people that you are looking up to in order to learn how to be a leader. So it's a trial and error situation. And in the beginning, it felt helpless. Like, man, what am I doing? Almost burnt the house down one time trying to cook. But again, you didn't have that skill set. So you're trying to survive. And that's a problem. You're in survival mode without the necessary tools to come forward. So as you begin to walk down that path, it may seem hopeless. But again, back at that time, even though the drugs began to decimate the communities, you still had that community mentality. So when your friends' parents or your auntie or uncle see what you're going through, they'll come over and try to help and show you how to do things. So you was getting helping hands, which I know for me allowed me to make it through that situation. But it was a serious psychological adjustment that needed to be made to go from being a child to being a man overnight. And as I said, you make decisions that was not sound just due to lack of information. You just didn't know. You know, you 10, 11 years old, you don't know how to run a household. You don't know who to go to pay bills or anything. So when you get up in the morning and the lights and the water off, you don't know why. And you don't know who to go to rectify that problem. So
When it
you know,
comes,
we all have traumatic or calamitous events that occur in our life. And I believe that it's to allow us to develop particular traits that we lack or to strengthen the ones that we already have for future events that's going to occur in our lives. So, as traumatic as that was, for me, the biggest psychological adjustment that I had to make was when I got captured and being sent to prison. That was a whole new atmosphere. You know, you not used to that environment. And quite naturally, you had to undergo a whole new way of thinking that you didn't realize you were capable of because you had never been put in that situation before. Like they say, you don't know how you'll react to something until you're actually in the midst of it. And with that mindset, what helped me get through it was creating a goal. What do you want with your life? How do you want your life to look? And that's what led to the path of, okay, let me start learning how to do certain things. Let me start deciding, okay, this is going to be my value system. This is who and what I am. So I need to start making moves in my actions that align with that right there. So I can't set a goal, for example, to say I want to gain 100 pounds, but I'm only eating once every 3 days and I'm not working out. That's antithetical to me trying to accomplish my goal. So once I decided what did I want out of my life and what did I want my life to look like, even in that environment, that led me down the path to where I was able to begin to mentally feed myself the knowledge that needed to become what I wanted to be. So that was my saving grace and experiences that I had to go through that life just gives you. But I was able to come out on top because you develop that particular discipline and you stay focused to the goal, and you never gave up on it. And it allowed me to eventually think my way out of prison.
yeah, I did want to chime in listening to Brother Israel. When it comes to mental stability, I want to say you can't get past it without peace. you gotta have some type of peace in your life, and you might not get that peace today, you might not get it tomorrow. You know, it's you gotta be patient. And I don't know too many people um with mental stability that aren't financially able. You know what I'm saying? So your peace might be from financial, you know what I'm saying, making money or, you know, just building yourself up. You might get peace from the little things you do that you enjoy. Um, so I feel like with mental, you gotta find peace. If you don't have no type of peace in your life, you can't be mentally stable. You know what I'm saying? Because it's something off. So you gotta find that peace within yourself, I feel like. And that can happen anywhere. You might sit down and God might sit you down in jail and sit you down for a minute to make you realize some things. And then you start to realize and you start to care about the things or the things that you overlook. You start to think about those things. You start to think about the people that you love or the people, you know, who really do got your best interest. And sometimes we get caught up as young people, you know, hanging around probably somebody that's no good in your life. If they ain't no good in your life, then you shouldn't even be around them. You know what I'm saying? Because we definitely with this youth, we tend to follow other people, but the way they going might lead you into destruction. You know what I'm saying? So with mental health, I feel like you gotta find that peace within yourself, and it might take time, but you know, you build, you work on yourself, and you strive every day to get better. You know what I'm saying? Uh,
No,
that's right.
I like what you're saying, and in today's climate, Minister, like when we're dealing with stress, finances, expectation,
Mhm.
what does healthy actually look like for a black man's mental?
We can ask that one. We did have a question. Meso have answered it
Oh,
in the
you know
chat.
what? We do have a question in the chat. Let's go to the question in the chat. Yes.
Angela Scott says, wonderful conversation. What role do you feel the media and social media play in regards to mental health?
I might have a when I have our youth talk about that. You heard the question, sir?
Yeah, what role do I feel in social play in regards to mental health?
Let's start with social media.
Social media. Um, Regarding to mental health with social media, I feel like honestly, you can get some good and some bad from that. Because if you're looking for things like as myself, I was looking at certain videos for bettering myself. And you got certain things, you know, meditation, you know, health, you know, working out. All of these are physical, spiritual, but it all comes down to mental because you can't do these things if your mental ain't right. If you're not locked in or you're not motivated, then you won't be mentally ready to move forward. So with social media, I feel like that can be a good or bad thing because you feed yourself some bad things off social media that can tear you down. Now you're mental, you're going crazy because you sitting here listening to foolishness, you know what I'm saying? And it ain't no good for you. Now you get out there and you doing the same thing because you just seen it on social media. So I feel like it all depends on how you pretty much use it. But we want to use that good and bring it into our life. That's the only way I feel like you can really help yourself deal with that mental. Sometimes mental could be as simple as, hey man, you closing your eyes and slowing down your breathing, and you feel me? And that's your mental. If you're going through something, you might have to calm yourself down. If you build up that pressure and now you, hey man, I'm going through this, I'm going through that, and now you ready to go do something, that might not be the best effect on your life. Now You messed up because you were thinking in emotions and feelings when you could have sat there and slowed down and meditate and actually found peace. And I feel like once that's why I say once you find peace, I feel like your mental will be a little better. It might not be all the way right, but you'll have somewhat of some type of discipline if you find some type of peace in your life. Because if you find peace, you're gonna say, "Hey, I don't need to go do this and that to look cool or to try to impress my peers." Because that's most of the time that's what social media is for, to impress other people. But if you're living for Yahweh and you're living for yourself because you found peace, I'm not gonna do nothing to impress other people. Why? Because I'm already happy. I'm not gonna jeopardize what I got going on for uh what other people think. And that's what we tend to do on social media. We tend to um put on a character or disguise whatever you want to say because that's not us. Like I say, we you living like robots when you're on social media. You know what I'm saying? You're trying to hide your emotions. You don't want everybody to know, oh, this is what I'm going through or this is what I got going on. So I feel like you honestly gotta find peace within your life. And that might be financial peace. That might be something, you know, something that you may have to fix in your life. But if you want to be happy and get your mental right, then I would say you start by wanting to change, you know, or and accepting the fact that, hey, I may need the help or I may need to speak to somebody, you know, that can help benefit my life and or my mental.
And and say, well, crazy enough, like being on social media, um, just to your point, there's a lot of good things on social media. They have different groups. They may have a mental health group. You
Mm-hmm.
type in mental health, there's a whole group of people talking about how we can better ourselves. And if you're on social media, those are the type of groups and things you should be connecting to because that's going to help with your mental. When it comes to the media, I would say really don't turn the news on because you'll be messed up with this. Like today, for instance,
Mm-hmm.
it's a young brother, having a trial. We still dealing. It's almost like going back 100 years, where like you can't even get a trial that you are now judged by your peers.
Mm-hmm.
We still have white and black that we deal with. We're afraid to bring a black person into a black person trial because we feel like they're gonna feel a certain way and then they're gonna quit them. But then we put a whole white jury in there and think there's gonna be a change in that. You see a young black man young black brother go into a store, get shot in the back by
Mm-hmm.
another, nationality, and it's like that's messing with your mental.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
so the media and news can mess with your mental. So a lot of times you have to that in order to keep your peace, like what you're
Yeah.
talking about.
Yeah, because that's what they tend to show us. They tend to show the youth doing, you know, bad things, shooting other young people. That's the first thing that's gonna come on the news. And now everybody wanna be famous or have this little bit of attention for social media that they're willing to throw their life away. And then once they get in these courtrooms, they're bawling their eyes out because they realize they threw their life away and they made this mistake that they can't come back from. So, you know, instead of trying to impress our peers, you know, impress yourself. You know, don't be afraid to stand out and be different from everybody because they accept the bad things. Everybody, you know, they want to accept the bad things and they turn away when you're speaking good, you know, but that message may not be for them. That message is for who Yahweh's chosen people are, and those people are good. You know what I'm saying? Not everybody want good or want good mental healthness, you know. So definitely just gotta remember that, you know, and definitely what you were saying. So I
Mhm.
just wanted to add to that.
No, and to add to that, like I'm saying too about the media and social media, I would say that look at it as a gauge because, like I said, you can get there are a lot of groups on social media, help groups that you can get benefits from. Even with the national media, local media, there's things you do need to pay attention. But the key is have a switch. You got to know when to turn it off, because if you take too much of it, it'll take your mental health to a place where it's hard to, because they'll say you should get mental health, but then you get bombarded with, we live in a 24-hour news cycle. Your mental health is going to go straight to the tank because all you being fed is negativity. And like something that you brought up, and I want to point that out, like in our community, we normally are spiritual people. We will go to the church. We will go to God. We go to the Bible. And that is an excellent outlet for your spirituality, because the Bible should be looked at as a book of life. There's a lot that you can glean from it and apply into your situation. But don't make that the only means of dealing with your situation. Look at that as, perhaps it might be better to say, that's going to be my step one. But there's also a step two, because if you're dealing with mental health, you need to look at the people that's around you. You need to look at your support system. And you brought up an excellent point. If you have somebody that's negative, or a group of friends that's doing things that are bringing you down, you need a different set of friends, because what good is it to get spiritual health, spiritual wealth, and then you cast that to the swine? It does you no good. So when you get that spiritual and you get that social right, and then now you may need to seek the advice of a professional to get it holistically, because it all plays a part. Because sometimes you need someone from the outside to be able to point things out to you. Because sometimes you may know the right answer, but it comes better when you get it from someone else. Like what I can tell you, what I personally found out about therapy, when you talk to someone, it is good to be able to get it all out and to be open and honest and let it go with someone who's not going to judge you, because that's a step to your healing. And something else that you said, and if you haven't tried it, meditation and being able to be centered, like being able to breathe. You have no idea what it's like if you haven't did it. Meditation and being able to breathe and bring yourself and get centered, like getting in touch. If you want to get in touch with God, if you want to get in touch with the universe, if you want to get in touch with your inner self, prayer, it all becomes a reality and it becomes one. Because sometimes, like you can, like it's a physical thing. You can be stressed. Go get your blood pressure checked. It's going to be high. But if you meditate for 5 minutes and be centered and get in touch with yourself, retake your blood pressure. It will drop. That's just the reality. So it's a lot of tools that we can use. Like don't throw them away. Don't be like that. Your spirituality, don't throw it away. You want to use it. Your friends, your family, you don't want to throw them away. You want to use that. Meditation, you want to use it. And professional help, you want to be able to use it. So you want to use all the resources that you can have to make yourself whole and to be complete.
Do we have a comment that came in? Oh, we talking about time. All right, so we're at the time. We're gonna keep on this topic because we're gonna transition a little bit to fatherhood, but we're gonna go to a commercial break and we'll come right back.
At NOY Store, we bring culture, style, and wellness all in one place. Explore our collection of cultural apparel designed to inspire and connect. From t-shirts to polos, boldly tell your story. Need guidance on your journey? Check out our books written to inspire and support your spiritual, personal, and community growth. And give your body the care it deserves with our health and wellness products like natural toothpaste, soothing body butters, and more. We're always adding new products to empower your life so you can live with purpose and style. Visit NOYstore.com today, where culture, wellness, and inspiration come together. Shop at NOY Store. What do all these people have in common besides a beautiful smile, healthy teeth, and gums? They all use Zodi toothpaste. Zodi toothpaste is made with all natural ingredients. Zodi toothpaste is fortified with moringa and baking soda. Zodi toothpaste is suds-free, making it an excellent choice for kids. All natural, fortified, and suds-free. Get yours today at noystore.com.
All right. Welcome back. We're going to continue on this topic today. If we don't define like health for ourselves, we'll keep normalizing dysfunction. So if mental health is being ignored or misunderstood, it's going to show up somewhere. And one of the biggest places is how we show up as fathers, stepfathers, uncles, etc. Fatherhood in the Black community is often discussed in extreme, either absent or present, but rarely in the real in-between spaces where most people live. So, brothers, what did fatherhood look like you in your life growing up, and how did that shape how you see yourself as a man today, Ezekiel?
Fatherhood for me, I was in a blessed situation. I had, a biological father that was never there, but I had a stepfather who was there. So the stepfather taught me what it was, one, to be able to raise a child that wasn't yours biologically, and to pour into them the knowledge that he had of what a man was. So, I took a lot from him as far as his work ethic and certain attributes he had that made him a man. And then you look at uncles, you look at older cousins and friends' fathers that's in your immediate circle, and you look at how they display their character on a day-to-day basis and what you can extract from that. So I was able to, just look out and extract from everybody I was in contact certain traits. It's just like, when you play in sports, you may like a certain player, but you see other players that may have certain qualities that you want. I want to be able to shoot like this guy, dribble like this guy, or defend like this guy right here. So for me, it was, like I said, nothing more but pouring in that you don't have to be somebody's biological father to be able to be a father to them. That in itself was a task, because most men now, they don't want to raise somebody else's child. There's a stigma going around that, stepfathers don't get the correct treatment from the children, especially when an argument or disagreement occurs. So for me, it was great because I had what I consider the world's best stepfather, and he shaped me into what a man should be, and that allowed me to grow with a certain trait in how I dealt with women and how I dealt with running my house now. I took those precepts that he gave me, I applied them, and everything that I've learned as I growed up, I applied, because I didn't want to repeat what I deemed was his mistakes. Each parent wants their child to extend the bar farther than them. And in order to do that right there, you have to pour into them what you have and hope that what they extract from you, they're able to add on so that they may move the milestone a little further back, so that each generation gets wiser, wiser, and wiser. So I liked it that right there, that this man was able to do what he did, not being my biological father, and then having domestic issues with the biological father. You're nowhere in the picture, but when you come around, you mad that this man is raising your child, but you don't want to take that responsibility, or you lack that accountability yourself, even though you live a couple of minutes away. So I'm seeing you every day, but you're doing nothing to be a parent. But you mad at this man because he is. So, and that's a lot of stigma and a lot of realistic situations that's happening, especially when you're young. When you have a child at a young age and you and the mother go y'all separate ways and she gets with another man. Fatherhood is very important because it's a hood. When you split the word, you have fatherhood. A hood is something that does what? It covers the head. Our head is where our wisdom, knowledge, and understanding is located. So we need the Father to be able to pour that into our head. So when he's lacking in the household, now we get substitute fathers. It could be from the media, or it could be from the music, or it could be from the people in our neighborhoods. And as the youth was saying, it could be on a negative polarity, because we know that the media espouses negativity. That attracts the mind more than anything. That's why 80 to 90% of the newscast promotes negative events that's happening. They're not promoting the positive. Same thing with the music. What are our artists speaking about? Are they speaking about things that uplift, or are they speaking about things that tear down? And if we know that life and death is in the power of the tongue, then are we using our mouths to be construction sites or demolition sites? And that's the purpose of a father, because his job is to be able to teach that child how to construct himself as a man, which now will allow him to build his own household in a manner to where it'll continue to flourish. And he, through his actions, won't tear it down. So fatherhood is very, very important. So to all the mothers listening, allow that man to be in your life, or at least in his child's life, because he's needed.
Hey, Emma, when it comes to, because I'm gonna bring the young man into uh, to this space. Do you think more young men today are intentionally trying to be different from their fathers, or unintentionally becoming?
Um, honestly,
Or have you seen, another question would be like, amongst your peers,
mhm,
um, are there a presence of fatherhood there that you have seen, or there's a lack thereof?
okay. I feel like there's definitely a lot um in this generation, only because I say that because a lot of people of this generation, they're probably not really, they're not there for their kids, and it's important to be in kids' life. Um, they may have had traumatizing childhood where their fathers weren't there for them, and they're doing the same thing to their kids, abandoning them, not raising them, not being there, putting on getting put on so-called child support, paying child support that's not really a connection or a bond with your son or your daughter. I feel like fatherhood um definitely have to instill in them at a young age discipline and hard work ethics, because it'll take them a long way in life. You gotta, as a young man, um I was blessed with the father that I have, um Jeremiah itself, um because not only did he instill in me the foundation of Yahweh, but he also taught me things that I didn't realize would benefit me today. As far as just as simple as pushing a lawnmower. I used to cut the grass and doing these things. He would tell me, yeah, it's gonna get me my legs right for sports. It did. I shoot. I was doing my thing when I was playing sports, but not only did it allow me to be athletic and stronger, but it also allowed me to know what it is as worth ethic, because as a young man, you can't take care of your family without any worth ethics. You have to be motivated, and you have to be out here every day, trying to get it, man. You can't lay down and just think it's all gonna come to you. You gotta be dedicated, and that takes discipline. You gotta really be dedicated to what you're trying to do, but you gotta have a plan. Like Brother Israel said, you gotta have a plan, because if you're just out there and you're just working with no purpose, then you're gonna be kind of blind. And there's no telling when you could fall off, lose this job, get sick, or whatever the case may be. But for fatherhood, I feel like it's a lot of fathers who are absent in their child's life, and they may need to be there for them, because without them, then they're gonna feel like, hey man, my own parents didn't even care about me. You know what I'm saying? And they're gonna just look for anybody for advice, anybody in the streets, and they might not be telling them the right thing. They might just be telling them how to survive. You know what I'm saying? And that can take them only but so far, until now you trying to survive in a jail system that was never made for you, or a prison system. You know what I'm saying? To break you down. So it is very important, I feel like, for fathers to be in their children's lives, because they're gonna look up to you. They're gonna listen to the things you say, and I still can remember, just growing up, like the things my father instilled into me, and I can still think about it to this day. And there was never no negative. It was always good things, whether he was taking me to play sports, taking me to the library. All of these things are good for you, and it's definitely something we have to do with our youth today, because a lot of our youth, they don't go to the library like we used to. They're sitting in front of these computers and in front of these game systems all day, corrupting their mind. So it's definitely, times have changed, but um I feel like uh there would be a lot of benefits of being in your child's life.
Minister, why a lot of fathers are not there? Is that a historical thing, or like, because I mean we have a history, and I'm talking about black fathers.
That's a well, you see, we in my opinion, when we look at
in your opinion, sir.
in
Yes,
our
sir.
history, if you here in America, coming through here is slavery. See, the fathers were cut off. They had a master. The father was actually cut off because children could be sold property, and or the children were used as assets. The father he wasn't important. It as not as a father, he was more as a buck. That's the want to get too deep,
Right.
but it's like he was there, but really deuce a slave workers. And we fast forward this where we are now, and we have to be retaught. Father is truly the head of the household, because if you grow up in a household where there was no father, where the father was absent, father was not there, you may think that that's psychologically that's normal. Now you could then have a child and say, well, I don't want to be that way for my child. But if, for example, if all you saw was negativity, pain, lack of finances, abuse, that's gonna kind of be you go think that's normal. So you might think it's normal to not be there, or like child support. Well, is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? So it's like, as a culture and as a people, we have to reclaim the importance of fatherhood and being there, not not just physically. Well, first, you physically need to be there,
Right.
but you need to be there emotionally. You need to be there financially. You need to be there spiritually. And like in my case, for example, my father was there. and he was there financially. He was the provider. He was the protector. But emotionally, he was not there. And I had to learn that. Fortunately, it was 7 of us. So I had a lot of sisters.
Right.
And my mother was there. So it's like there were some things missing that I had to learn because I got taught in the streets. And you got to come home, and then now you got to make a decision on what's proper. But I think for the Black community, we have to understand the importance of Black youth to have a Black father. They need to be able to see a positive role model that you can't be just a provider. You know, children actually need a father to look. Yes, you should protect them. You should provide for them, but you got to be able to guide them. Because I can tell you, if you listen to the streets, or you might make some money in the streets, but most don't get off that path. There are very few who take money off the streets and literally make enough of it to turn it into a family business, turn it into an enterprise that's going to support their family and then support them after. Because if y'all out there in the street doing that, then why you still out there slinging, and why we don't have a bank with your name on it that say First National Bank. So see, we as a people need this, because we talk about, you know, and the Cubans coming to Miami. Yeah, they did a lot, but they cleaned that money up. And now when you go there, they own the banks, they own the towns, because they looked at fatherhood and family. But I want to say it because it's coming through slavery. See, that's some trauma that we never really dealt with. Because I grew up, I had some racist stuff. I've talked to my sons, and thankfully, they didn't have the same racist issues that I had to grow up with. But that don't mean they didn't grow up in a racist society that still have things 3/5 of the human. That's still on the books. Never been changed. Can we go to college now? Can we get jobs? Yes, but that emotional trauma, I don't think we ever fully dealt with it. And we need to understand that, yes, so we came from that. And accountability. We at a point now that we can't blame. Yes, we know it's there, but now how do we become accountable and realize that we're not just for producing babies, like the term now I hear, baby daddy, baby mama. That's real. So when are we go change that to mother and father? There's nothing wrong with being fathers, and there's nothing wrong with being mothers. But why do we have a society where women now, some choose to raise a child on their own? That means we know we got to break down.
They don't need a man.
They don't need a man. And it's like, and I can't beat up on a sister because if they've been dealing with what they've been dealing with, they've been dealing with males. Yeah. If they'd have been dealing with men, they wouldn't have had a situation. Right. But they don't have to deal with so many males. Sister, I get it. You can financially take care of yourself and your child. I don't need something that's going to pull her mental and emotional health down. That means fathers, we have to step up, take our role and our place, because our sisters should not have to be strong all the time. They should not have to raise our sons by themselves. We shouldn't have to go to the man to come in and be the support for our children. That's our responsibility. And that's not the white man's responsibility anymore. That's our responsibility. Did they play a part on it? Hell yes, they did. But today is the day we have to turn the corner and make it better for ourselves.
Brother Ike Ezekiel, how do you make sure
you faded out? I couldn't hear you.
How do we make sure that the next generation doesn't inherit the same patterns we did?
So step one, we look at and we outline what the problems was for us growing up, either with a father or without a father. And then we create a blueprint that would allow us to be able to say, this is the traits of a man. What does a man look like in my household? Okay, a man is one that's responsible. He's one that's a provider. He's one that brings peace. So you have all these qualities of a man. Now, once you identify the ingredients that go into a man, then you begin to put the necessary steps that will make that child develop those qualities to the fullest ability. So you have to have, it's like an instruction book. When you open up something, the manual that comes with it. And this is the only way that we ensure that they become a man. So you have that system. You know, the Great Light teaches us what? To train up a child in the way it should go. Train, one of the terms or flavors of it is to catechize that child. And catechize means to instruct systematically by means of questions, answers, and explanations. So you have to instruct that child in a systematic root word is system. So that means you have to create a system of instructions that would allow that child to develop into a man. So the first step is you have to identify what is a man. Because in the beginning, you always say, let us create man. What ingredients went into making a man? Because if I ask you, what are the ingredients that go into making a chocolate cake? All you got to do look on the back of Duncan Hines' box and it's going to tell you. And then you can look on TikTok or somewhere, they're going to show you step-by-step process of how to take it from that box and make it into a fluffy cake. So what are the ingredients that go into making a man? If we want the next generation to be superior to its predecessors, then we have to give it qualities that the predecessors lacked. 20 years ago, they had the iPhone 1. Now up to the iPhone 17. Same phone, but the system is different. So the newer model has more features than the older ones. So as parents, again, especially fathers, we have to ask ourselves, what traits do I want to pour into a man? And to the sisters that's raising men on their own, what qualities do you want your male child to have that you love in men that you're dealing with, or that you despise in men that you're dealing with, so that your child doesn't grow up with those same qualities? Because you have to raise that child if it's yours. So what are you pouring into that child that'll make somebody's daughter be proud to call him her husband?
Right. That last word. Any last words?
Yeah, for fatherhood, my last words would be, you know, I heard the term, it takes a village to raise a child, and I was blessed to have sisters, and I feel like fatherhood, it doesn't just only happen in our family. It can happen outside of our family. I done had young kids coming up to me calling me their dad, and I'm not their dad, but you know, you could be a father figure. You know what I'm saying? You could definitely have an effect on other young Black youth lives, and they'll listen to you if they admire you and they look up to you. So leave some good on their life or in their life, you know. And like I say, I was blessed to have so many sisters that I started to get these father traits before I became a father. You know, I was blessed to be able to take care of my nephews, my nieces, to make me look at the youth a different way. And that's how I know that I'm getting older and I'm entering that fatherhood, because I don't do the things I used to do anymore. As a youth, it's a verse for that. It say, when I was childish, I did childish things. You know, I put that away, you know, as I became a man. So
Indeed, minister. You want to sign
No,
off?
that was beautiful, man. The point that he said about you can be a father to someone, they don't have to be a biological son. It does take a village, and it's time for us to turn to be in the village.
Indeed, indeed. And I love everything that my brother said. I'm going to leave it right there. And I say, from the host, peace and prosperity, from Live Talk, we are out.
Thank you for watching Live Talk. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Live Talk Orlando. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Hit on the notification button so that you can see more videos like this. You want to join the show? Email us at livetalkorl@gmail.com. You can also follow the host on Facebook and Instagram at Arthur Jeremiah. And visit the website, thenoystore.com, to pick up your copy of The Spiritual Significance of a Name.